Try to get bottles in. Post-production is a part of the project I was actually dreading, because when you're involved in the writing and you plan it out and you're acting in it, you sort of hope that's it, and you just want to see a final version of it edited by someone else. So when you're also editor on this, you're not out of the woods yet. So I had to take all the 8 days of filming, which all the takes together was probably 500 or 600 takes altogether. I would edit each scene by itself, and once I had each scene done in some sort of narrative, I bring them together and then block out the film how I would like it, just to try and get a rough cut done and get enough done for the soundtrack so I can send it on to Mahadi, or at least a couple of scenes sent on to Mahadi so he can get the soundtrack ready.
Kieran was doing the footage, doing the main editing job, and I was sitting over there doing the soundtrack, and he was sending me footage and I was adding soundtrack, which I think was a very good way to do it, and we were right there to talk to each other, and doing it that way I probably wrote about 2 new actual, well, I wouldn't call them pieces, but 2 new sections, and he edited footage in such a way that it would fit around it. Like, it was mostly already edited, but because he was there and I was right beside him, I could just say, right, we do this to the soundtrack right here, and he could, provided that the footage wasn't lost, he could just tweak a little bit on his actual footage, and I could add it straight in. And I think if we were miles apart and we were communicating email or whatever, I don't think we could have had that kind of fluidity to the editing. It wouldn't have worked so well. It's
very hard to look at yourself. It's even harder to hear yourself. You go, I don't sound like that. And the little devil on your shoulder is like, no, you do. I had to heat up before I get cold. You get used to it. You just go, it's another actor. It's just a scene. It's just a take. It's just a shot. You wanted this. You just said, you wanted this. You wanted to make this movie. You wanted to be in it. Suck it up. So today is Foley Day. Foley work is when you start to go insane. Because what I wanted in the film particularly was punch sounds. I wanted my own unique punch sound. So I went up to Jake's house and he had a mic set up and nice little setup and for Foley work. And what we did was punch walls. We'd punch, jackets. We'd ruffle jackets. We'd do that to tables of different woods to get a punch sound. That's when you start to lose it, because you're there saying, I could punch a car and I get a different sound out of a car, and you start to lose your mind. I don't have that sort of jacket. We'll add metal balls into the jacket so it sounds heavier, because you're trying to overemphasize what's being heard on screen or what you're seeing on screen. It's weird. It's a weird process, but it's the most fun you have, because you're just there with a mic. There's no video camera recording. There's no take 1, take 2, take 3. We were trying to have a bone breaking sound, so we got a load of sticks and said we'll break 1 at a time. That didn't work. We'll put 10 together and break 10 together, and that was the sound we got. It's that sort of craziness, you have to really let yourself go. The soundtrack is key, I found, to making it not seem like a short film.
Well, I was originally attached to the project, I think, as an actor in it, as Ulrich. And I've been working on bits of music at that stage only for a couple of months. I got software on my computer and stuff like that. I started messing with music, and I was into making music. I studied music in college and I've done piano for years. So I've got a musical background, and I just thought, if he's looking for it, I could do a soundtrack for this movie that he's doing.
I was writing the film during the summer, and he was working on soundtrack stuff. And just in his own time, he didn't have a project. He was just testing out software. And I said, listen, send whatever you have on to me. I'm listening to music. I want something new, something fresh. And he sent on this track, which was just called Untitled One. That's all it was called. And I listened to it, and I emailed him back saying, this soundtrack would work great for Mason.
kind of the main theme. Part of a snippet of it ended up in the credit sequence, but that's what I showed to Kieran, and he said that would work very well in the movie. And then from there on, I was in.
He started sending me different versions of that, and the more I heard it, the more I went, yeah, I don't like that bit. I like that bit, not that much. That bit is good. No. See that 2 seconds that you did there? I like that drum beat.
Kieran would send on little pieces of existing music, and there's like 1 or 2 seconds in a piece that he liked. Oh, he said, that sounds very good. He sent it on to me. Like there might be one moment where an orchestra, the strings just drop out, and then out of nowhere a big explosion or a big bang on a drum or something, and that kind of just clicked in his head, and he played it for me, and I said, I know exactly what you mean. I'm going to go for something along that vein. I have these similar ideas. We're kind of alike in that way. We think in the same kind of way. The original idea for the Mason theme, well, it wasn't the idea for the Mason theme originally. It was just a mess. I was just messing with strings on my computer, and it was a very, very short little motif with just 2 notes in a minor third. It's just, I think the notes I'm thinking of them at this stage are C and A. Just that theme. That's basically the Mason motif, and it just continues it in its own way. And that's all the sound is, and that's just it's pretty generic, to be honest. But I thought it sounded quite good. And then when we added it to the movie, when I showed it to Kieran and he wanted to add it to the movie, we built on that in a lot of ways. We added tons of bass. I added viola playing a little arpeggio up and down, kind of wave motion in the middle. That's also a major part of the theme, because that comes up in every time you hear it. We added some pretty cool bass drums, to be honest, and they're really nice. And eventually we added like a French horn to the top of it, and playing a kind of staccato mirror image of what the strings are playing. Sound quite odd by themselves, don't they? And the whole thing just built up to like this. As I said about Mercer's theme, this is more of an epic quest. This is something that he has to do. It's almost like, as a viewer, and maybe as Mason, if he was hearing this would, like, he'd put his headphones on, he'd listen to the Mason track. This is driving me to finish my mission. That's kind of the idea that I had when I listened to the music, and I ran with that, and then Kieran loved it, and we used it.
For the credits, I didn't want rolling credits. I didn't want white on black. I originally did, but I said I have so many props. I designed a lot of props. There's a lot of props in the film, like Mercer's mask, Mason's gun, Mason's gloves. Imagine if each time you're scanning over one of the props, a credit comes up. So like if you go over Mercer's mask, Sean's name comes up. I'm not saying Mercer played by Sean, just you put one and one together. So I just filled up this pool table with all the props I could and positioned them in such a way. Just went around with the camera, filmed every bit of it, and put the credit sequence together. And and then you put the names in and make sure the names are matching with the camera, so that it's not just there and the thing's coming up beside it. It's moving with the camera. So when the camera turns, the name turns with it. And when I told Mahadi about that, I said, listen, you just go mad with the soundtrack. Do whatever you want with the soundtrack, But I have pointers, but I don't want you to hit any beats. I just want you to go mad, and I'll sync up everything afterwards. The
credit sequence, I know that this came up. There was a bit more impact Kieran was looking for. A moment of, what would you call that? A moment of force, where you just wanted an electric guitar or some kind of deep bassy instrument like that to just come in with the rest of the instruments with the horns and just go bam, and just to kick off the credit sequence to just think, oh, I've just watched something amazing. And we played with a few things. I tried electric guitar. I wasn't too keen on it at first. We tried a few other things and said, well, why don't we just go for a traditional brass instrument? So I used a trombone section, to be honest, and I put it really low, like in the lowest register of a trombone, and I put it like up to double forte, just crazy loud, and we just played it once, like we were sitting in the same room, we were editing at the same time on the soundtrack. I added that, we just let it play. This is the sound we hear. A great clash of strings, just good for tension, and this one string, a lone little string, and then silence. But he opens his eyes. And then we hear that. The thing just exploded, and we were in awe at it. We just kind of said, oh, that's gone right into the movie. That's just perfect moment. And it ended up in the end, just when the credits hit, It's just the trombone and everything, all the other instruments just coming in at once, and it works perfectly. Yeah, and then we take a break and the horns do something different. You hear them over the top there. Mason team still going underneath. And this gives Kieran the freedom to just mess around with this credit sequence. And it gives the people a chance to hear the original intended sound of Mason. Then percussion starts to rear its head again. And it builds from there. The horns are doing their theme again. And we have that triplet rhythm now coming up. We've got arpeggios to finish it off. And our final drum, that's my signature. That drum at the end, I love throwing those into pieces. Anyway, that's the end credit sequence of Mason. Everyone had their own little theme. I thought the most important by far was Mercer, because you have to. It's a technique called leitmotif. It could be a theme. It can be just one or two notes like a motif, and it'll come up during certain points in the movie where this character appears. It's not always about a character, but in this case it is. It could be about an event or something. But this one little theme, you notice it after the first hear, and if you hear it again, you notice this means that there's something bad's going to happen, and it's accompanied on screen by Mercer walking in his usual creepy way. Again, I don't know exactly how many iterations of the Mercer theme we had. It was originally, I know the idea was to have a theme. It started probably on strings. I think it was like low strings, cellos and stuff like that, with a kind of a spooky theme. You would say, like you'd hear it in like a Dracula movie or something. I was honestly just playing with ideas, and maybe I thought for a second that something like that would work, but once you see a picture of Mercer and you hear that music, it doesn't go at all. Another one I used more of a theme, so it would be closer to what the Mason theme was, strings and movement and melodies, but with say like an electric guitar in it and a drum or two to feel like it's more like Mercer's on a mission or something like that. But then I kind of thought, I don't want to be taken away from the Mason character. Partly this theme is closer to the Mason theme and I don't want that, and the character with the mission in point of view of this movie is Mason. The camera follows Mason, and I don't want to make it feel like Mercer's the character that you have to sympathize with. I don't want to push down people, so I'm not giving him a kind of I suppose you can call it epic again, feeling of like drums, guitars. I'm gonna get the job done. Let's go and do it. That's it. That's just, you know. And what I done for this, I played about 5-6 different things. I tried to write full on like 10-minute long things for him, just the theme to just say, oh, I'm evil and scary. But I thought a bit more subtle about it would be the better way to go. I used just this high pitched screeching sound. It's so good for his character. It's exactly what he is. It's just, you don't know what's going on. It's just a high screeching sound. It's subtle. There's no theme being played. It's just. This is the intro to the movie. This is the chess scene at the start. We are first introduced. Well, you actually introduced to the less important character at the start, which the name escapes me at the moment. But and Mercer's in it, and you'll hear this bit where Mercer enters. You can see his face as well as mask. That's the tremolo string that just says, right, here's Mercer, and that's actually the first sound we used as an entrance for Mercer. And as we continue on, he picks up the gun, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's the undercover agent. And Mercer's talking now. So we hear all this stuff. works so well. It's subtle and it's really quiet and it's a bit dangerous. And the notes clash a bit. And what's this now? Something's afoot. Some evil goings on. This is a line delivery by Mercer, and then it all starts to happen. He's been found out, this undercover agent. Mercer knows what's going on. God, the rare use of minor tonality in the piece. More tension. Strings are building again.
I said to Maddie when he said he can do the soundtrack for me, I want a team for Mason and I want a team for Mercer. End of. If you can do a team for Ulrich, that would be great. And he goes, but it's only 15 minutes long. I was like, yeah, but I want it. It needs to feel like a feature. And accidentally he came up with a team for each of them.
The fight scene was actually quite interesting because while doing it on set, I had the soundtrack in my head while fighting. Every punch I threw, pretty much, I had a drum beat or a strum or guitar or a string instrument being played, and I just, every time I stepped out on the set, I thought, oh, this is a new 10 bars I can write here. Or there's a moment here towards the end of the fight where there's a bit of a quiet moment, and then there's a big uppercut in the face, which got into the final movie as well. So this is the fight scene. This is the layout of the score. It begins here with the electric guitar down here, which is just a repeated rhythm. It just goes like this, and it builds. And on top of that, the entry of these two here. The big drums are very important. They come up in a few different tracks through the piece, but in a fight scene, obviously, they're of the most importance. And like all the little percussion instruments I added, like little woodblock instruments and mini snare drum types things. I had shakers going in there. I had everything that just keeps building up that you would expect in a fight scene, like accompanied by music. You'd expect a building of instruments and a building of sound to culminate in the end of it, which it did. The strings here, as I was mentioning, was the Mason bit. It's not really the Mason theme, but it's done in such a way as to kind of mimic the way the Mason theme would run. And then as all together, I'll probably turn this down in case it explodes. Strings drop out again, and now they take turns. These drop out, and there's the strings with the electric guitar by itself in a kind of a dotted rhythm, as you can see here. That's when I start to get the upper hand in the fight, when Ulrich starts to get the upper hand. The fight moves across the room. Percussion comes in because stuff starts to happen. Here comes the little Mason motif coming back in here again. A brief pause, and we're back in to the fight. It's me coming on screen suddenly and just exploding with a punch into Mason's face. Another moment where you just go, oh, that was nice. And then it just, as you can see, it just explodes into every instrument having to go at one time. I'll just play a segment and explain what I mean. It's pretty obvious. It just builds and builds and builds. And I might as well just play it there to the end bit. Pause, uppercut, bang. And then enter Mercer. I'm not going to get into the story, but we know why he's there. So the whole track was perfectly reflecting the fight scene with the excitement of it and the energy.
This is the photo shoot for Mason.
Drop you.
First hour, and we've done nothing.
What time is it?
Every director would tell you that what they first thought of the film, their first thought, what they thought would turn out as, is never close to what they wanted. And if they do, they're a dirty fucking liar. But mine was relatively close. Granted, I had to cut corners here and there. Didn't matter. It added to it, if anything, because when you're in your own little world, it can blow up. And when you're writing it, it does blow up. You know, you're there saying, oh, I can do this, I can do that. But when you're shooting it, you're going, man, listen, I have 5 minutes to get a 30-minute scene done. You know, so you really had to take a step back and go, okay, no, we'll cut corners here.
Yeah, this particular film was really difficult to do because there was no budget. You know, there was practically none. It was all done on a wing and a prayer with equipment that we either had ourselves or were able to blag out of other people. You know, the locations that we had there, one of them which was almost nearly impossible to get. It was just an all incredible amount of work. And
so seeing the way the film is now, it's like we gave an indie spin on an action series. So we have the slow pace, we have the talky bits, but it picks up and it is, you know, it's 16 and a half minutes on the dot long. You won't even think you're watching it for 3 minutes. Like, it's there, it's over, it's gone.
Sitting down and seeing the film, I was just blown away. Really, really blown away. The edit that was there with the music, how each scene was edited, how it was put together, was just incredible. I like, from the response we got, everyone was just awestruck with it.
The story itself, like, it's not just catch the baddie. It's like twisted and turned around towards the end. Like, who the hell is the baddie? Like, I don't know.
Most people would come up to me and say, oh, I really enjoyed your film. And then others would come up and go, I seen this and that. And you're like, geez, you know, you can actually watch it two ways. You can watch it one way and just see the action as it is. And it's, you know, it's grand. You know, you can half watch it and enjoy it. And you're hooked till the end. Or you can pay attention and see the different details and the layers that there is there.
To see it as just a pure action movie is just, it's wrong, you know, it's not. If you're sitting there and you come out of that seeing it as a pure action movie, you need to go watch it again.
Cliche is something I don't really like, and this was not cliche. It would seem on the surface at first, but then when you get into the script and you get into the characters, and the Mercer character specifically,
I wouldn't have been as interested, and I wouldn't have spent as much time myself working on the character and working on little small details had I thought it was just your average action movie. Go in, good guy beats up bad guy, this kind of situation. You know, I wouldn't have spent as much time on it. I wouldn't have had as much time for the movie.
Really kind of looking back on how everything came together, which again, you know, comes back to the collaboration between myself, Kieran, and everyone there. That work that we put in, and we knew from the get-go it was a great project, an amazing project to work on.
How much everybody got to throw in there a little bit and, you know, build on this big universe. Like, there is a huge universe outside what we see. We knew that. We were privy to that. And to this point, obviously, the viewer isn't. But for us to have that background and for us to know all this other stuff that was going on and all this background to the character, it really did make it extremely interesting to work on.
The film was my idea. I'm the director, I'm the complete creative control, I'm the producer, I control everything else like that. But it's our film. We all put our own expertise into it. You know, we all put our own spin on things. Like with JD, he does camera work for dramas more, you know, but his drama cinematography worked in this action film. You know, it's not quick cuts, it's not long takes either, it's nice. All of it, our makeup, you know, I suggest something and she'd just take it off. Mahadi with the soundtrack, you barely had to tell him what to do and he goes off and brings it back. Something full. Everyone adding their own twist on the characters. With Sarah with the heavy bags on her eyes, it's something you won't notice, but it adds so much when you do. With Sean with his character, you know, how we play off each other. You know, Shane, Jacko, Dale, all adding their own spin to the character. It's our film. It's my idea, it's my creative vision, but it's our film. And I think that's why we're such a tight-knit group afterwards. Because, you know, we can say I worked on that film, or they can say my film makes it.